The sun was just beginning to rise over the small village of San Isidro, nestled in the lush mountains of the Philippines. Miguel Santos, a 16-year-old orphan, was already on his way to his small farm. Life had been hard for Miguel since his parents passed away when he was just 12, leaving him to fend for himself. But he had learned to be resilient, working tirelessly to make ends meet. Despite the hardships, Miguel had a kind heart and a quiet strength that kept him going. As he walked along the narrow path that led into the forest, something caught his eye. There, lying in the grass, was a tiny bundle wrapped in a soft pink blanket. Miguel's heart skipped a beat as he approached and realized it was a baby girl, no more than a few days old. Her face was peaceful, as if she were simply sleeping, but there was no one around. Miguel looked around frantically, calling out, but the forest was silent. With trembling hands, he picked up the baby and cradled her close. He stirred slightly, her tiny fingers curling around his thumb. Miguel's heart swelled with a mix of fear and determination. Couldn't leave her here. Without a second thought, he turned back toward the village, the baby safely in his arms. For days, Miguel asked everyone in the village if they knew anything about the baby. He went from house to house, even to the neighboring villages, but no one had any information. Villagers began to whisper and laugh, calling him foolish for taking on such a burden. "Miguel, the boy who wants to play father," they sneered. But Miguel ignored them. He named the baby Rosalina, after the roses that grew wild near his farm, and vowed to raise her as his own. Life became even harder for Miguel. He worked from dawn till dusk, tending to his farm and taking care of Rosalina, to cook simple meals, to change diapers, and to soothe her when she cried at night. The villagers' laughter and insults never stopped, but Miguel kept going, fueled by the love he felt for the little girl who had come into his life so unexpectedly. Years passed, and Rosalina grew into a bright, cheerful child with a smile that could light up the darkest room. She adored Miguel, following him everywhere and calling him Tate, father. Despite the challenges, Miguel felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had given Rosalina a home, and in return she had given him a reason to keep going. One day, a sleek black car pulled into the village, drawing curious stares from the villagers. Out stepped a well-dressed man in his late 40s, accompanied by a private detective. The man's name was Don Enrique de la Cruz, a wealthy businessman from Manila. He had spent years searching for his daughter, who had been kidnapped along with his wife 4 years ago. The detective had finally traced Rosalina to San Isidro. When Don Enrique saw Rosalina playing outside Miguel's small hut, his heart nearly stopped. She had her mother's eyes, the same eyes he had thought he would never see again. Tears streamed down his face as he approached her. Rosalina, curious but cautious, hid behind Miguel. Miguel listened in stunned silence as Don Enrique explained everything. Rosalina's mother, Isabella, had been kidnapped while picking her up from daycare. Isabella had managed to escape with Rosalina but was badly injured. In a desperate attempt to save her daughter, she had left Rosalina on the path leading into the forest, hoping someone would find her. Isabella had then run in the opposite direction to distract the kidnappers. She was that day, having succumbed to her injuries. A DNA test confirmed that Rosalina was indeed Don Enrique's daughter. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Don Enrique turned to Miguel. "You saved my daughter's life," he said, his voice trembling. "You gave her a home when no one else would. I can never repay you for what you've done." Humble as ever, simply nodded. "I only did what I thought was right," he said. But Don Enrique had already made up his mind. "Come to Manila with us," he said. "You are family now. I will raise you both as my children." Followed, Miguel and Rosalina moved to Manila, where they lived in a beautiful home with Don Enrique. Miguel was given the opportunity to finish his education, and he eventually took on a role in Don Enrique's company. Rosalina grew up surrounded by love, never forgetting the boy who had saved her life. Don Enrique, grateful for the second chance to be a father, made sure that Miguel and Rosalina wanted for nothing. In his will, he divided his entire estate between them, ensuring that they would always be taken care of. But for Miguel, the greatest reward was the family he had found. He had started with nothing but a kind heart and a determination to do what was right. And in the end, he had gained everything he had ever wanted: a father, a sister, and a place to call home. Finally, if you enjoy this type of content, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and share it with your friends. Also, hit the notification. The sun was just beginning to rise over the small village of San Isidro, nestled